Well, welcome to the Kiepersol Texas Podcast, and I have the pleasure today to talk with Michael McClendon, who's a winemaker here at Kiepersol, and I just wanted to kind of pick your brain on a few things. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thank you for coming by. It's kind of cold inside production today. That's the norm here. It doesn't always kind of have the glam and the glitz that people think comes with the wine industry. Most of the time it's with a vest or a jacket.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So is that's part of the winemaking process then, is just to keep cooler climate or temperature?
Right. Especially this time of year for us here at Kiepersol, we're going to be working on stabilizing some of the white wines and rosé wines and things like that.
Okay. Awesome. So let's get a little bit of history on who you are. For those that maybe don't know who you are, can you go a little bit in depth on your history on who you are and where you came from and how you became a winemaker at Kiepersol?
Yeah, I'll try to be brief on that.
Absolutely.
So I'm from a small town called Van, an even smaller community called Prairie Creek. So raised in the country, born and raised, and went to school in Van, graduated, got a scholarship to go to UT Tyler, and got a degree in biology and a chemistry minor, and was thinking of going into medicine and so many other different things. And before I was getting ready to graduate, I got a call from the then department chair, Dr. Killebrew, and he said he left me a message on an answering machine. So dating it a little bit, but he said, would you like to do some research? And thinking, okay, with the department chair, prestigious, I need some hours. I'll go check it out. And so I went to his office and sat in with him, and he said, well, it wouldn't be with me here, it'd be at the winery. And I'm thinking, there's a winery in Tyler, and I don't drink, or I didn't drink wine, and my parents didn't drink wine. It wasn't something I had grown up with, wasn't familiar with it, but I thought I'd give it a shot. Came out, and I really enjoyed it, and started off just as an intern, and thought it was a really cool place that was I was able to exercise a lot of the science that I've been learning, and within maybe 2 weeks we started talking about turgor pressure in the vineyard, and I was like, hey, I know these words. This is my language. So I thought it was really neat. And since then, that was a little over 10 years ago now, became the winemaker here at Kiepersol, and have had a chance to go and really be a part of the industry and take the reins of small parts of the industry, of this Texas industry, and really taking ownership of that, and helping to write the story of what Texas wine is like. A lot of other Texas winemakers out there doing great things, and we've been going and seeking out information and making ourselves better however we could. Had a chance to go to Chile, spend some time in New Zealand, of course, been to California, and of course, inter-collaboration within the state and understanding what makes Texas unique, what makes it special. Since then, like I said, it's really we've been growing here at Kiepersol as a whole, and I've been growing and doing other things as far as trying to see where we can put ourselves into this Texas wine industry and into the story, and figuring out how we can really just share what we do.
Okay. Yeah, and so I kind of want to ask a little bit. Marnelle a couple weeks ago was talking about how we grow a lot of the old wine world varietals. What's your opinion on how that looks as far as Texas wine in comparison to some of the other Texas wines out there? What makes it? Why does that set us apart, or why does that make us a little bit different in the Texas wine world?
Yeah, I think that our selection of grapes are centric in Bourdeaux. We have quite a few of the Bourdeaux varieties, red and white, and that was just really based off of what we could do, and farming is a big part of what we do here at Kiepersol. So seeing and understanding what we have and how to take what we have as far as the terroir here, and make it into what we want on the grape or the wine end. I think the main thing that really sets us apart is the fact that we are all estate grown and produced. So it provides some unique challenges every single year. There's the fact that every vintage is going to be different, but we're locked into whatever you have is what you have, whether it be a good growing season or a bad growing season. There is no contract that I can have with a grower. It's the family here, and we all work together and make the decisions on whether it's a wet year, a dry year, whether we have a lot of humidity to deal with, pests, whatever pressures that we may have. And the fact that we're out here in East Texas, we're gonna have them. We're gonna have some problems, but it's fun to just say, we're gonna endure it. We're gonna be committed to being this estate-grown winery, and it has benefits in the long run, in the sense that it allows us to really tell a story. Like I say, kind of starting off as we were trying to help be a part of the story of what Texas wine means and all of that. And it's not like, hey, we're jumping out and trying to be a part of this big thing, and not saying that we're not,
right?
But we're really we're living our own life. We're living our truth, and that's just kind of what's unique about that. The fact that every year is not the best year, but we're going to make it the best that it can be. You know what I mean? Like, so it's but we're going to take those cab grapes, those Syrah grapes, or whatever it is, and we're going to put it in the best situation to have success.
Okay. So it sounds like each vintage is going to be different. There's no two vintages or 2 years of growing that's going to have the same quality of grape or style of grape. So you're having to play with that with science and utilize your expertise to make what we offer here at Kiepersol.
Right, and even in the vineyard, a lot of those decisions are made on, no two growing seasons are going to be the exact same. So the decisions that are made by our vineyard team as far as how much fruit to drop, what to prune, when to prune, those go a long way as far as dictating what kind of quality fruit we're going to have, and then the decisions that we make here in wine production on yeast strains. Are we going to do co-inoculation? Are we going to do extended maceration? Are we going to do a saignée? Are we, what are the different things that we might do to help maximize the quality stuff that we have coming into the building?
Okay, awesome. So it sounds like to me you're definitely a true scientist in the full essence of the word and the idea. Is it safe to say that that's one of your passions?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, science and discovery, especially, I've kind of been, and I don't think I do a lot of self-reflection, or it's like, hey, I need to be called this thing or whatever.
Right.
But if I had to describe myself, I would be probably a combination of an impresario and a farmer, a grower. And I think farmers are some of the first scientists, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like they, as far as from back in the day, when is it going to rain? What's going to happen if it doesn't rain? How can I take this stuff that's falling from the sky that seems to make these things that I like to eat grow? How can I take that and save it and maybe use it for whenever it's not falling from the sky? And, just a lot of trial and error and then understanding what you have. And then being an impresario, being someone who is going and trying new things, going to this place here. We were not supposed to be doing what we are doing, as far as growing vinifera grapes and things like that. So, Texas has had a long history with grape and wine production, but it still doesn't necessarily get the respect on a national level. And people think that we're hillbillies and don't wear shoes, especially here in East Texas. But, quite the contrary, we're very sophisticated, and we're actively seeking to make the best wine. And I think that we're competing with any and everybody out there.
Okay. Awesome. I know you specifically have had a heavy influence on Kiepersol Rosé. Let's talk a little bit about that. What is Rosé for those that don't know what a Rosé is, or Rosé style wine?
Yeah, so Rosé style, it is just that it's a style of wine or a grouping of wine. So typically it is a red wine made in a white wine style. So in processing, you would come in and you would press virtually all vinifera grapes. There are a few that are tinted flesh and juice, but most of them are a light green coloration. So if you bring it in and you process it quickly, you can press it off of those skins and seeds early on, just like how you would do a white wine, and you end up with a light pink coloration of the wine, and you make a rosé or pink style wine.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about, I know, wasn't our first journey into rosé the Rosé of Malbec? Is that true, or did we have another rosé before?
We've been doing rosé for quite a while.
Okay.
We've had a white Zinfandel.
Okay.
We did a red blend that was just, or not red blend, it was a rosé blend called a blush. And it was we made box wine way back in the day before box wine or before alternative packaging was a thing.
Okay.
Very, very different and probably ahead of its time, in my opinion. And then we also had an oaked rosé called Vitzin. It was a little sweeter. So we dabbled in it, but it always had a stigma that rosé was supposed to be sweet. And so the white Zin, the Vitzin, the blush, they were all kind of in that sweet category.
Okay.
And that's kind of where we started off as far as what we were doing with rosé. But then we had a couple of estate sommeliers, and we had been tasting, and they were looking for a Provençal style wine. Like, we want dry rosé, and then I had been looking at a French style rosé Malbec, and that was it. I think it was called Pigmentum or something like that. Not even necessarily that it was that great, but it clicked. It was a thing.
Okay.
And we were just fortunate enough to kind of be thinking the same thing, and I think that the clientele was ready, the people were ready, and really wanted to try to bring that thing out for everybody. And so that was our first step into the dry rosé category, was with the Rosé Malbec.
Okay. Let's talk about our rosé now. Our was it the 2017 vintage, I believe it is?
Yeah. So it's a continuation in the same style, and I think that kind of goes back into talking about the lifestyle of wine production on an estate, being estate grown and produced. We kind of had a little bit of foresight and said, man, you know what? What if we really want to take that Malbec and we want to put it off into our red blends, or we really can't afford to hold too much of it aside for a rosé programming, but we can still get a consistent product. So, or if we want to open it up to having a little bit of diversity or structural components, so we wanted to open up, instead of just saying, hey, it's going to be Rosé Malbec and it's going to be this the entire time, we just have it named as the Kiepersol Rosé, and that's going to be our dry rosé. And so, Mourved's one that's popular in the state. A lot of people use a lot of Mourved. So some Mourved, some Temp, those different things can find their way now into the Kiepersol Rosé. But it's going to be really fruit forward, lots of great acidic structure, and easy to drink, comfortable wine. I'm a big fan of rosé, especially because most of the time here in Texas it's going to be pretty warm, and sometimes a red wine may be a little bit too much, but you want something different than just your average white wine. And I love Sauvignon Blanc too. Don't let me say, hey, I love rosé, but I love some Sauv Blanc.
Yeah.
But you want something a little different, and the rosé category for me it fits right in there perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I've noticed personally, over the last 10 years, rosé has just become much more popular, and almost everybody has their own version of a rosé now. That's really interesting. And so, would you say there's more sweet rosé now, or would you overall globally, or would you say there's more dry?
Oh, that's a hard call, and I would almost be hesitant to speculate, because I do know the popularity of your white Zinfandels and your sweeter style wines. Just commercially, they have much more wide appeal as far as like in the New World, especially in the United States. But Southern France is almost exclusively rosé, and they've been doing it for a long time. They're great at it, and it's dry rosé, and it's from every spectrum and color of the rainbow, just like we have here. You can have a light pink or peach coloration here, then you kind of have a salmon color, and then you can have something that's almost a red wine. It's much more extracted and done with the Saignée or tank bleeding style.
Okay.
So what we would do, we bring that fruit in, allow it to sit on the skins for a moment, and then pull the juice that we want off of that in an effort to concentrate the red wine portion of production.
Okay.
But we also want to utilize the great freshness of the juice that we're pulling off on the other side to make a heavier bodied rosé. And so these are some just examples of how we'll take these pieces, we'll maybe blend them together, and we'll make the next vintage of the Kiepersol Rosé, or maybe make some standalones with this is white Zinfandel and some other pieces like that. So, it really just kind of depends, but it would be hard for me to speculate and say that there's more of one or the other. But I will say that the popularity of dry rosé has increased, in my opinion, tenfold in the last 5 years or so.
Yeah.
Especially here in the state of Texas, there's belief that we do dry rosé just as good as anybody else in the world because of our soil and our different AVAs and microclimates that we have here.
Okay, interesting. Can you talk a little bit about, for those that maybe have been to Kiepersol and tried our rosé, obviously, or tried some of our wines, and we also have a reserve label. Can you talk about the difference between like a rosé and a rosé reserve?
Yeah. So again, that's just kind of the impresario just going out and kind of conquering some new lands and trying new things and blazing the trail. So and it was a little bit of a throwback too. So I mentioned we had Vitzin as an oak rosé that we've had in the past, but it was sweet. But we tried another oak rosé again, this time on the Rosé Reserve, and ended up with great results. And it drinks very comfortably, has a lot of complexity to it. And it's really cool. It's like the Wild West of winemaking out here. We don't really have any rules or have to adhere to any hardcore strict structural components, like they do in the old world. So
just to clarify, in the old world, they have laws that restrict them from being able to grow certain varietals or doing certain styles of wine.
Right.
Okay.
And so here in the New World, in the United States, anything outside of Europe, we're able to just be or exist in the world of wine, and that's what we're doing, and going back to trying new techniques, and as much as we're innovative, we are still traditionalists, and we will go back to our heritage and what we've tried in the past to see what we can have success with. So the Rosé Reserve, where it differs from the Kiepersol Rosé, is that it does have oaking on it. It is more complex. It is a little extra level of richness, and has the things that, again, so it's the same thing. If it's a little bit warmer outside, or if I'm eating a little bit bigger of a meal, but I just don't quite want red wine, and I want something that's elegant, that has the fruity characteristics, and that has the oaking on it as well, but it's not too heavy. Oh man, that Rosé Reserve just fits right in there, and you could just pop the top, and it's a great one for, like I say, the big meals, like the traditional meals of whether it be on your Easters and Thanksgivings and Christmases and things like that. But it's just the next iteration or the development of a very diverse portfolio that we have here at Kiepersol on the rosé side.
Yeah, and then something else that we've also been doing new is flight. Can you talk a little bit about our canned flight?
I can. No pun intended, huh? So that was super cool. I couldn't resist. So the flight is something that is super cool in the fact that, again, it goes to saying that, you know what, at one point in time, maybe the Rosé Reserve is outside of the box, but the flight says, what box altogether? And just, we're doing what we want to do because the wine is good. And we want people to enjoy the wine how they want it. Especially being out here in East Texas, we have had to develop our destination and do a lot of wine education, and it's really doing what our consumers want, and they want wine to be more comfortable, more approachable, and that's what Flight does. It's a canned rosé product with a little bit of light carbonation on it, just to taste, and again, just seeing what we could do if it could be done. We thought the idea was sound and the wine was really good, and the packaging now makes it so that you can enjoy it in a more convenient setting. You can take it to a picnic and you don't have to worry about a glass bottle at the park. It's a little bit more conscientious of taking glass products into different places where they may not be as accessible, or you don't want to carry the corkscrew with you, and you have a can, and you just, it's a single serve, and you don't have to worry about opening the entire bottle and having to finish it. On those trips to the beach or to the river or the lake or something like that. It's a really great lifestyle product, and I'm really excited about where it's going to go for us. I think we're going to try to, we're nearing the end of our first supply, so we're going to go back in and revisit it with another canning. I would say another bottling, but it's another canning of that product, and really just pleased with how it's taken off, and just excited about where it can go.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's so cool. I'm just kind of curious. Do you have any, since you're a scientist, I want to know, do you have anything for maybe our viewers or our visitors that maybe you can pick their brain and just see what they like, what's new? It could be anything. Just ask them a question on maybe something that you're kind of curious about, what the market is thinking or what people are thinking about, and maybe it helps in the winemaking process. If not, it's okay. I just wanted to.
Yeah, I only thing I can think of, I just how open are consumers typically? That's a great question. I think that do you typically like to experiment, or are you kind of you're set in what you like, and you don't really like to deviate off of that? How open is the general public to? And I say general public. From the consumer side, I'm talking to myself as well. How willing are you to get outside of the box, and how willing are you to accept new norms? Especially, I think that's important for embracing the Texas wine industry and the wine culture as a whole. So I feel like that, 10 years ago, whenever I was getting off into the industry, wine wasn't something that was as accepted as it is now. Like, it wasn't in the shows on TV, and it wasn't really used in movies. It was something that was more of a special occasion thing. But now it's on your sitcoms on TV or on Hulu. It's in commercials, and there are ads in more known publications or online publications. You see ads for different wines and wine and food culture. So I think there is some opening of mindsets to the idea of wine, but how open are you with embracing the fact that, just because it's a Cabernet, it doesn't always have to be this example of this one Cabernet. And I think that for the example of grapes, getting into the industry and why the wine grapes are so different. The American market, we were told grapes are Smucker's grape juice, Welch's grape jelly, Bubblicious grape bubble gum, and that's what grape for me. And maybe I'll stop projecting on everyone else and just talk about me. That's what the flavor of grape was for me. So, getting here and tasting these different grapes really kind of helped open my mind, and to be able to accept and want to discover and see more about what the world of wine could hold. But I wonder, is that for everyone? Does everybody kind of feel that same pull or draw to be open and exploratory in the world of wine? And so then to take that to the next level, then would you do you explore beyond your norms? So if you normally drink Riesling, do you find Riesling-like wines, or do you just stick to Riesling? It's got to be German, and it's got to be, Baron Schleis or whatever it is. It's got to be this Riesling. So
okay, yeah, that's a good question. So are you open, or are you more stuck in your ways? And that's okay either way.
I don't mean stuck in your ways like that sounds so negative, but just are you a creature of habit?
You know what you like, yeah. Yeah, I think that's totally okay. Not stuck in your ways, but in the negative connotation, but just, hey, I like dry Merlot.
Right.
Awesome. Great. That's perfect. That's what's so great to me in learning about wine and figuring it out, is just like there's a palate for everybody. There's a style of wine for everybody, and you don't have to compromise, because there's so much out there for you to be able to try or to gravitate towards. So I think that's fascinating. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and look forward to maybe talking to you again sometime.
Cool, man. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.